It's not there yet. I think you do have the aggression to build on with the Arena Terrorize as long as you hit that level 6 timing in the Willow. Maybe just something else that can play with that timing. Of course, SG Esports, again, they could still run Mars mid. 4DR has done that before. So we could maybe see them shift back there. Void Spirit against Mars doesn't sound too bad for either side. So it should be steady. I think SG is just trying to decide if they want to flex it. They go with a CK. So it does come true here. CK comes out. And again, we've seen SG Esports Costabile deliver performances on that CK. He plays it really fast. You have to watch yourself now on PentAce. You don't have, say, the best of hold on the CK here unless the Void Spirit does manage to get the jump in and get the follow-up arrow. But for the most part, I think with the pacing you have now on SG Esports, like this Mars Arena coming through, the Terrorize to play with, the Phantasms from the CK, you shouldn't expect too much breathing room here from PentAce, and they have to be cautious as SG Esports has a lineup that can just continuously force fights and try to hunt down that Alchemist to prevent the farm from coming in.
What I'm worried about, though, for SG Esports is how they're going to take towers quick. Like, are you solely relying on the CK? Because the one way you really counter the Alch is by getting that mid-tier 1 tower down very early on, and then taking the map that way. So are you just relying on the CK to be able to use level 1 Phantasm to push? Maybe Curse of Avernus on top with the Abaddon might be able to help. I was kind of expecting a bit more of a tower pusher here from SG Esports. Maybe they save that for the mid lane though. Maybe you could pick up something like a Leshrac instead. Spam Diabolic Edict to get rid of that mid-tier 1 tower. I feel like if the towers aren't going to go down quick from SG Esports' end, I think PentAce, they're going to have plenty of time to farm with this Alchemist. And I never like betting up against the Alchemist if it is freely farming. It's always going to have the advantage. That does worry me a little bit here for SG. But again, that mid pickup is still yet to be picked, so if they get something that does assist with that tower push, it does give me a lot more confidence with this draft.
Yeah, they're going to need a way of melting those objectives. The Leshrac you mentioned is still in the pool. Maybe they look at something like, say an NP could slide in as well. They could flex that mid or off for SG Esports if they wanted something that has some global presence and aggression as well. We'll see what the option is. They're going to have to show their hand first. PentAce can adjust their draft accordingly. They're still looking for an offlaner to pick up here from PentAce's end, unless they do something funky with their Void Spirit. So SG Esports should know that it's probably a mid matchup with Void Spirit. If they don't want to give 40R to Mars, they could go for something else right here. Not much reserve time left to think about this, though.
No, there isn't. Only 15 seconds of reserve time left. We actually saw PentAce removing more position 1, so not really believing the CK is going to be that pos 1, and there's the Leshrac coming out. Which I think is actually quite a nice pick for SG Esports. The thing is, if you don't have a good laning stage, this draft feels like it's going to fall apart. For the Leshrac anyway, right? Because we talk about this all the time. If he dies a couple times on this hero, Leshrac just seems like it drops off the face of the earth and is completely useless afterwards. It is very momentum based, and up against the Void Spirit it can be somewhat challenging to win out the lane, as that hero just doesn't seem to lose any kind of mid lane matchup. So I'm very curious to see how well 4DR does do on this Leshrac, but I think if he does get off to a good start, then SG Esports should have a pretty decent chance with this draft to take game number 1.
Yeah, I think the key thing here for 4DR is he has to go for that Edict build. The last time we saw the Lightning Storm build, it just didn't lead to much. Sure, you can secure your farm in lane a lot better with Lightning Storm spam, but it doesn't lead to a push. So we have to see the Edict come out. We have to see that mid-tier 1 fall, sub 10 minutes in. Get that pressure off. Maybe you can get some support rotations as well. The Dark Willow can help you set up onto your stun. PentAce do go with the Bristleback for their off lane. So that's another nice front line here. You do have some good magic damage to sort of deal with the Bristle already with the Lesh, but the Bristle does give you a steady way of harassing out the CK. You do have the Abaddon to kind of help you tank through some of that damage on hand. So I think there are some answers here from SG Esports. My worry now is, you mentioned SG Esports, if they fall behind, the Alch gets a lot of space. The same thing can happen here for PentAce. If Snaking doesn't have a good laning start, the Bristleback will have to soak some space elsewhere, and that's going to eat into the Alchemist farm. So we've seen that happen with Bristlebacks as well. You want a good lane to come out here for Snaking, but they do have the Keeper of the Light Bristle combo. So you've got Chakra Magic to play with. You've got so much more lane harassment coming out. It's going to be hard for SG Esports to contest that lane, especially once you hit your level 3 spikes here on PentAce.
Fair enough, John. We'll see how Game 1 does pan out between these two. It's going to be a very interesting matchup, and I love the fact that Bristleback is in one of the games that we're casting today, because it's been such a long time. In fact, I do like the Bristle this game as well. I think there's a lot of value in having that Nasal Goo from Snaking. So you do have some very high armor targets like the CK, and the Alchemist may struggle if he does go for the Battle Fury build, which I am kind of expecting from Fear. So having that kind of even the minus armor from Snaking with that Nasal Goo is going to be quite nice, I think, in conjunction with the Alchemist. And of course even Ryoya, who is a lot of physical damage on top of the magic damage. Still, we'll see what happens. It has been a while since we've seen Bristleback. And it is a very momentum-based hero, so if it doesn't get the start, you know, I don't even know if you have space after that. I think you just go all in on Fear with the Alchemist, even if Snaking has a really bad laning stage. I don't think he's going to have any space to catch up this game.
No, you can't afford to. Like, it has to go to the Alchemist. He needs to build that network lead no matter what. So Fear is going to take that priority. Again, when it comes down to it, Bristleback might not have had the best showing so far in terms of actually being picked, but they've got this Keeper for Light Bristleback combo. So it is already potent, right? Like, it's already a bit scary to go into. You've got the Chakra Spam with the Quills, Chakra Spam with the Nasal Goo, a lot of uptime on his spells. You're not going to need to ferry out as much mangoes to sustain yourself, especially once you hit level 2 with the Illuminate Chakra up. There are a lot of ways for Snaking to apply that pressure. So SG Esports, they have to respect that power coming out here. And yeah, Ice Nice just asking for a reminder. It is US East. The only time we see a switch between servers is when it comes down to South American matchups where one team is in Brazil, because the Peruvian servers don't have a good line there. So that's the only case we ever see that. But this one should be steady US East. And SG Esports, I think they were the team to point out that they actually do prefer US East over Peru and even Brazil servers. So they're probably used to the slight delay here. Shouldn't be a factor in this game.
Yeah, you'd hope not. The reconnections are here as well. We should be getting underway any moment now. And I'm curious to see if both teams end up switching the laning stage a little bit with these heroes and where they go, but I think it is going to be fairly stock standard. Can't really imagine too much of a change. Well, you could decide to maybe throw Fear up at the top lane on the Alk if you want, and get into lane up against the CK over the Mars. But I think both matchups can be somewhat difficult for the Alchemist, so I don't really know if you're really winning out by sending him in top. Let's see. For now, I'm going to stick with the team. Maybe we see a very early smoke. No, it's just a 5-man kind of run up the mid lane. No smokes available right now for PentAce. And in fact, for now, Fear is running up top. But so is Snaking, so we're not going to know who is going there.
Yeah, keeping it open. I think they want to scout out what SG Esports are doing first. SG Esports, though, are the ones to smoke up. They've drawn lines into that bot jungle. They're not going to find anyone there, so maybe not going to find that kill opportunity. And you can see they're in good moods. Costabile giving the tip to Ryoya. Ryoya calling out to Costabile, wishing him good luck as well. So good spirits from both teams. We'll see who does get favored by luck. Of course, I don't think this one's down to luck. It's going to be down to how well both teams play.
30 seconds and counting.
I think that's a good point, John. Luck generally, I mean, there is some luck in the game, I guess. You know, power runes spawning, and actually there's a lot of RNG, if I think about it. But, you know, it is mostly about skill. I hope. It's not Underlords that we're playing here.
Underlords. A live game.
Hey, it's actually a pretty good game. I actually enjoyed Underlords quite a lot.
Yeah. Just hope that it doesn't get the artifact treatment. Still, even trades on the bounties. No excitement here. It does look like we've already got Fear down bot. He did TP out. Or he did walk down. So he's going to be steady on the bot lane. Just going to be finding that farm in the safe lane out. That does mean up top, We've got Costabile around with KJ. They are going to be laning up against that combination of the Keeper of the Light. No, actually not the Keeper of the Light. They're going with Z-Freak and Snaking on the Bristleback and the Mirana instead. So they break off the Kotl combo, which I suppose is fair. You don't want Mirana to really be with the Alchemist. There's not much Mirana can do. That does mean you don't have that strong presence at level 1 here.
I love the fact that they're getting aggressive here onto Snaking at level 1. Because they know he's probably not going to have the Bristleback skilled up yet. So this is the one chance you have to get a lot of damage in. And of course, stick charges are already available on SG Esports, so they're more than happy for Snaking to start spamming quill sprays. You're always going to have KJ there with the Aphotic Shield to make it that much harder for the quill sprays to really get any damage in. And Snaking, he's going to cop another stun. Costa BLA going to get some nice damage in. And while we have a chance, John, we'll move over to the mid lane where we do see 4DR up against Ryoya on the Void Spirit. So far, it looks like it's going pretty splendidly for both heroes, but 4DR is able to get a lot more harassment in early on this Leshrac. Of course, he did skill up the Lightning Storm as well. He doesn't need the Edict yet. I think with the Lightning Storm spam, he should be able to abuse the Void Spirit quite nicely. Top lane, though, Snaking. Gonna go down to the right click of KJ. The Aphotic Shield damage really hurting the Bristleback just then as KJ gonna go for a dive in, and Z-Freak, he's stuck around, but KJ is gonna get the kill first, and he gives the tip over to the Mirana. That's a great start for the Abaddon.
That's an excellent start coming out here for KJ. I mean, he gets that kill first, so he gets the EXP on top of it. The Mirana's not going to have that little ride. Of course, she is still going to hit level 2, but this is not a great lane already, even down bot.
Yeah, they got Mu on the Keeper of the Light, and it's kind of what I talked about, John. It's not the easiest lane up against this Mars Dark Willow. V will be relying on spamming Acid Spray quite a lot in this lane, which is going to make it important for the Coddle to be there with the Chakra Magic. But then again, Tarvo and Thea Lacour, they're still going to have a pretty decent time, I would argue. Top lane,
yeah.
Snaking. This time Costa Bile will get the kill.
Ooh, it's a lot to lose out on early. You can't underestimate the sustain that the Abaddon just brings with the shield, with the heal. There's not much Z-Freak can do. Like this lane up top is a lot more passive than you'd want. And because Snaking just TP'd out from his last death, he's gonna have to walk back to the lane. So gonna be wasting a little bit of time getting back up there to farm, and that's just so much space for Costabile to build up on the CK. Already off to a good start, SG Esports. That bot lane, as you mentioned, there's not much they can really do, right? You spam the Illuminate, you drop the Acid Spray. That's not going to stop Tavo from still finding some creeps of his own. Not going to stop Tio the Core from getting some harassment out on the Willow as well. So they're going to have to find a way to slow that down. I think the one thing they can do with Mu is eventually get some stacks up in the jungle. That's going to be important in this game as, you know, these lanes so far early on in the laning phase are just not lining up here for PentAce.
KJ already getting towards those stacks on the Abaddon, just really getting set up. Of course, this is something you want to do when you have a Leshrac on your team, to try and assist him in catching up if he has a bad laning stage, and of course if he's ahead, they're just helping him escalate even more. Thea Lacour going to be there to make sure that 4DR does get the first power rune of the game. And I think this is one thing that PentAce don't want to allow SG Esports to do, is secure every power rune on Leshrac, as 4DR is already winning the mid lane, and those power runes are just going to make it that much harder for Ryoya. There's now 4DR with a level 2 Diabolic Edict and a Haste Rune, can start pressuring this tier 1 tower. He lands a Split Earth as well. Ryoya needs to be careful, because there is another Lightning Storm up on 4DR.
Look at Snaking.
Meanwhile, Snaking is being chased down by this position 5 Abaddon. He jukes out the arrow, and he will continue haunting the poor Bristleback.
This is such a bad start for Snaking. I don't think we've seen a Bristle get shut down in lane this hard in a long time, especially by an Abaddon. Like this is a dual melee lane. On paper, the Bristleback should be able to apply space with the Quilt Spray, but it's just not lining up. And I think when you have this Mirana, again, it's just not the ideal laning partner for a Bristle. Ideally, you'd want the Keeper of the Light up there, but you don't want the Pos 5 Mirana as well. So These are just not the lanes that PentAce were wanting to play out, and SG Esports just abused that really well. Just applying that pressure, keeping everyone low, and having this really good laning start sets them up to set up for that push. 4DR already has the level 2 edict. As you mentioned, he still has the haste bottled up. If he clears out a couple of these waves, hits his level 6, he can easily look to melt that mid tier 1, and there's not much PentAce can do to stop that at this point.
No, there is not. Reconnection is there from Costa Bile. I think KJ, of course, is just going to keep chasing. In fact, he can dive the tier 1 tower, John. He's got a mango. He can use the aphotic shield, and it is at level 2. And it will be enough damage to kill Snaking. So KJ, he's going to go for it. Z3 can't stop this because he used the arrow, and KJ knows it. Salve is going to be there. Snaking, he's going to survive. And eventually it does work out in the favor of the side of PentAce. Oh, the salve was not factored in.
Yeah, I don't think you're too unhappy if you're KJ still. I mean, you force the Bristleback to get salved up, and you give a lot of space for Costabile. Like, it's a non-factor to Bristle up against CK. Costabile is now level 5. Like, this is exactly what you want for your lane anyway. And all Zephyr can do is just continue to arrow that large camp, but he's not able to apply any laning pressure. So the farm for the CK is just going to ramp up, and the Midas Costabile is queued up. Should be up in a fairly timely manner here.
Oh, here we go again. 2-second stun. There's the shield out. Snaking. He just can't. It's too much damage. And for Z-Freak, he's going to rotate. He's going to help out the mid lane a bit. Because 40R's having his way as well. So he can't stick around and help out the Bristleback. He's having trouble helping the mid lane as well. And it's a very tough time right now for PentAce. The only real saving grace is the fact that Fear is on top of the CS board as an alchemist. And that is a pretty big saving grace, mind you. But that's pretty much all they've got going right now.
Yeah, it's all down to the alchemist getting this early start. Fear at 6, of course, with the chemical rage, it's going to be harder to pick off as well in the rotation. They should be thankful. 40R is eyeing that bot tower now, that bot lane. Looks like he wants to get a bit of a shove, maybe look for a kill opportunity, but was scouted out. Some good defensive wards here from PentAce, seeing that mid-rotation out.
Should be a nice, easy tier 1 tower to take. Tarbo just kind of waiting for his creep wave to move over.
40R.
Well, Snaking rather is getting chased down. Almost dies. 40R going to find a couple stacks, so he'll go ahead and try and steal them off Fear. You love to see it here from the Leshrac, just really abusing the Alchemist already. Fear's going to try and harass him out a bit, and Ryoya will show up. 40R, he'll pop the double damage rune. That's all he wanted. He just wanted to be a bit of a nuisance here towards the Alk. And it's right back down to that bot lane, where it seems Tavo did commit the arena, but it probably was completely missed. And instead now, they want to try and focus on killing off Moo and getting the tier 1. Spear, of course, going to land very nicely, and that'll be a nice easy kill on Moo. And that should be a guaranteed tier 1 to die.
Yeah, it sets them up for that push down bot. They can transition to mid afterwards. The one thing here for PentAce is that they see all these heroes clumped up bot. They can't really punish Costabile. Like, he's just still farming up the stacks up top. He has his Phantasm to farm up even faster. Z-Freak can just watch. They can't even trade for, say, a top tower or mid towers. They don't have that amazing push. And SG should just find this easy tower coming out for them while getting some EXP out for the rest of their heroes as well.
Ryoya, Haste Rune, Theolacor, mid lane getting caught by the Aether Remnant, but Z-Freak off with the arrow. Very unusual there for Z-Freak to miss. But he does, and that'll mean Theolacor is able to get himself out.
Yeah, it's the level 1 Aether Remnant pull duration. It's just not that long. And it was far enough that Theolacor just managed to walk away. So just a bit unfortunate there for PentAce. They lost their bot tier 1 with no defense. They have to watch themselves. 40R is just ready to keep this push game going, and they need to mount some sort of defense to prevent the map from just being shut down.
Moo's being chased now by KJ as well. KJ, 2 fluffy hats on the Abaddon, just feeling so tanky with over 1k HP. There's your Midas up on Costabile now as well, so his farm is set to escalate a lot. He's actually still ahead of Fear on the Elk. At least with this Midas, he should be able to keep up somewhat with the Alchemist. Speaking of the Arc, Fear is going to show up at the top lane and try to get that T1 tower push started on his own side of things. I don't think he's going to be able to do too much in the way of pushing this T1, but... well, maybe he has to, because mid lane is being forced in already. Ryoya trying to fight, will have to back off because Mu has died, and instead they will TP snaking in on the Bristleback. And it's going to be very important for PentAce to just make sure they hold on to this mid-tier 1 as long as humanly possible.
Yeah, you've got more durability on snaking now. At least he does have his Vanguard up. So he can actually throw his body up front to stall out these movements from SG Esports. SG, though, probably not too daunted by that. They are just going to look elsewhere on the map. They do have some wards here from PentAce to watch that movement out. So they can kind of punish these rotations.
Well, Z-Freak, Curse Crown, stun out. Does juke out the... no, he doesn't actually. It was just that slow. But it won't matter. Nobody dies. Everyone just kind of gets away from each other. Tavo, though, sneaking up on Ryoya. Won't throw the spear out yet. He doesn't have the arena either. They're still just trying to dedicate themselves to pushing in this mid lane. But it looks like Snaking's presence on the Bristleback is going to be enough to make it a little bit too uncomfortable for SG Esports.
Yeah, and again, they're mounting that good defense that we have to expect from PentAce. They are looking to pressure top now. Teal'c just forcing the supports back as they set up for a little bit of a shove, but not too much committal. Casabila just wants that farm up.
Teal'c, Illuminate to fly through. Shadow Realm going to delay things, but eventually Fear does get the kill with the Acid Spray. Very nice. Does have the Battle Fury up now as well at a very nice timing. Snaking. Tanking all the Diabolic Edict damage and really doing... taking no damage himself, but now the arena is down. Snaking still tanking quite a bit. The spear connects on the tower to make matters worse, and Ryoya comes in with an Aether Remnant. But KJ is able to purge off that disable with the Aphotic Shield. And PentAce, they are doing a great job of holding that tier 1, I've got to say. Just even Snaking, just tanking the Diabolic Edict off the left track. You saw him, he just took no damage.
Yeah, it's one way to kind of mitigate just how fast that tower falls. They are getting some decent bounce back farm here as well for Snaking. He's clearing out some of the jungle here nearby. You are still getting some space out here for Casabila. He's not been contested up top at all. He's got his Sanj flying out now, I believe, his full Sanj. So he's going to be hitting a bit harder. He's going to be tankier in the front line. You have to be careful about the timings that you are meeting on the CK. But good news for PentAce is that Fear is up above now. Has the Battle Fury, has been able to really just stay in that triangle area, keep the farm up. SG Esports has not been able to invade that triangle in a while. So that is how PentAce is now bouncing back in. They're just getting that steady influx on the Alchemist. And if you leave that Alchemist alone for too long, it can cause issues. So SG Esports has to find a way to pierce through that mid-tier 1 soon. Perhaps if they get the rotation out from Casabila, that could be enough damage on hand to deal with the Bristleback.
The really clever thing with Snaking, just blocking the Diabolic Edict there, John, he went for the Vanguard build. So all the damage from the Diabolic Edict is being blocked off because it's physical damage. So the Diabolic Edict doesn't do any damage to the Bristleback because he's blocking pretty much all of it with the Vanguard. And of course the Bristleback passive he has. So there's literally no way to really get through it unless Snaking is dead. Unless you're just going to hit the tower. But you're not going to be able to do it with the Edict. Not if Snaking is in that mid lane.
Actually, that confuses me a bit, because every time I hover over Edict and I alt, it says it's supposed to not be reduced by damage block. I guess the Bristleback isn't exactly damage block, so I'm guessing it's mainly just the Bristleback
enough
doing
anyway,
its work.
right?
The Vanguard shouldn't, because it's considered damage block. Like, the Edict should not be blocked by damage block unless that was changed and the tooltip was not updated. That could be a thing. It's a beta game.
Never know. But I do know that he's taking literally no damage, which is definitely great news for PentAce.
Yeah, that Bristleback just does way too much work. They don't have a natural break here from SG, so you're always going to get value from that still.
And Curse Crown out. No. Gonna be caught. Tavo, the easiest spear of his life, and well, that'll be Mu gone. Back into that mid lane they go. Snake King, he can't tank it this time. So there aren't too many heroes around. And the T1 gone. 12.5 minutes in. Not too bad of a timing here for SG Esports.
Yeah, that should open up the triangle. They're trying to invade. They don't have wards, and there are preemptive sentries here just to protect. So there's enough information here for Fear to kind of just play it safe. He's hanging by the tier 1. The one thing for PentAce here is they don't have amazing teamfight setup as well. Like we've seen SG, at least they've got the Arena Terrorize. They've got good single target control. They've got follow-up from Lush. And the side of PentAce has none of that sort of control. Like they've got the Aether Remnant, maybe an arrow follow-up, and that's all the combinations already. So it could be a bit tricky for DR.
Oh yeah. They have the Yules to set up if they want. He hasn't used it yet, but now he will. It's the Brambles and Split Earth. It's going to come out very late from 40R. I'm not sure why you even try to do that. Like, the Brambles is nice and all, but why not just commit the stun to make sure you get the disable?
Yeah, that was a bit optimistic. Now they've got an opportunity top to kill Tavo.
Yeah, Tavo's in trouble. Spear's going to land at least onto Fear. Acid Spray's still going. Tavo going to run into the tree line. Arrow's going to connect. But they won't continue. 40R TP's in. Looks like PentAce has had quite enough. Still got so much room to grow on Fear, so there's no real reason for him to continue fighting. He's more than happy to just TP away from the fight and just keep farming up. In fact, they're recalling him back somewhere. But it is going to be into the triangle now, and of course that is going to be much more efficient farming for Fear.
Yeah, just wanting to get that stable build-up. Of course, there are heroes around, KJ.
Try and tank the damage out. Borrow time. Going to be used up. Fear. Unstable concoction. It's going to land, and KJ, that'll be his death. Now Costabile going to show up with the Phantasm, and now Arena also dropped, but the Yules makes it so Ryoya gets away. So 4DR committed the Yules, and Tavo committed the Arena at the same time. Now Thea Lacour is also going to die on the Dark Willow, and a bit of miscoordination there from SG Esports does end up costing them the kill.
Those are major mistakes to make. They do find a tier 1 top, so they have cleared out all the tier 1 towers while holding their own. But you drop some kills you're not supposed to lose out on, and that will set the momentum back a bit for SG. They still have to play pretty fast. You don't want to stall out the game necessarily with a CK on your side.
Z-Freak gonna leap away. Still not stunning. Am I missing something? I feel like I might be missing something. They're going to find him anyway, perhaps. Z-Freak is going to get run into Costabile, but no, he's been recalled out. 40R's back into the mid lane.
It's looking spicy.
Tavo?
Well, they found the Mars. I thought they'd given up on that, but they do eventually get him with Ryoya. Tavo doesn't actually land the spear, and Ryoya is going to help get the kill. Mill will be the one to pick it up. And a lot of lines are being drawn out now from SG Esports to go down towards the bot lane. As it seems like SG, realizing they are falling behind, probably just need to avoid PentAce for now.
I don't think it's really necessary to avoid. They need to play as 5. They're kind of just split up. They need their combinations to go off. They need to line their spell use up. That's really been what's missing. Like you mentioned it. You will use right in the middle of the arena. They need to be together and coordinate, because when you don't, this lineup really falls flat and you're not able to punish PentAce for lacking that same team fight presence. So have to play as a team, group up, ensure you get your stun stacks perfectly, and prevent the Alp from farming. I mean, Fear is still having a really good time. Despite them losing all their tier 1 towers, he still has room to farm up, and they're not able to stop it.
Phantasm popped. Snaking going to show himself. 40R slowed up. But they're only just happy to force back SG Esports. Like, of course, PentAce, they don't need to fight. Time is in their favor with an Alchemist. They just need a bit more time for Fear. They are going to smoke up on Mu to try and get back into the triangle, but SG Esports are going to go in and just take it over.
Scanning for enemies.
Not many stacks to take. In fact, there's no stacks to take, but you may as well take the triangle away and take that efficiency away from Fear.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Like Fear's just perfectly fine with it, however. Still farming decently. Mid lane now, 40R, again being slowed, but the Aphotic Shield going to kick in. Snaking was recalled, now 40R in the middle of everything. He's going to try and fight back with the Lightning Storm. Terrorize out, Costabile going to show up as well. And it looks like they'll just focus on the Bristle. The Curse Crown going, but it only connects on one. Ryoya now jumping in with a double damage rune as well on the Void Spirit. They are trying to take down Thea Lacour. Another spear not going to land, but this time around they will finally kill off the Void Spirit. Still, it looks like PentAce, they want to keep going. They are starting to drop quite low. That'll be it. Ryoya dies. SG Esports, they will take the positive trade. They aren't really going to be able to find many objectives out of this, but you take what you can get for now.
Yeah, it's still a nice kill to find for SG. They've been dropping some of these kills earlier on. They did have to drop a lot of spells for that, though. So they're going to have to wait for the next arena. Fortunately, not that long for cooldown. And they're going to need to want to transition to an objective soon. They weren't taking that fight near tier 2. And with only one kill, you can't really commit for a full push. So PentAce just gets to reset. Keep farming on Fear. He's almost at the BKB mark. And once you have that in the Alchemist, you can actually join these fights really well. So you have to watch that spike on PentAce. A lot of your damage disappears once that BKB is up and running on the Alchemist.
The Dire scan. On the hunt for radiant forces.
I think Costabile is going to be feeling pretty happy with the fact that he's only 1k behind the Arc for now. I mean, the fights haven't been going their way that often, but I'd say just being able to keep up like this is a really good sign for SG Esports. Gonna have the AC up soon as well, which is gonna be very effective into the Arc. A lot of physical damage on PentAce that is gonna be negated by the bonus armor.
Yeah,
Dire's top tower
it's going to be a bit difficult once you reach that farming point on Costabile. And of course, you're still not too happy with Fear's farm, although it is starting to stack up. It's about 2k up. Not significant enough for an Alchemist, but enough for him to feel comfy. At least you're not behind here on PentAce at all. SG Esports, they do have this blink on Tavo, and when you go for a blink on any of these sort of team fighting heroes, you need to find those fights. There's some pressure here to keep that momentum up, and they might force something out here.
40R's already got the bounty. Recall. If you bring Snaking back, just in case PentAce does have to commit to a fight.
Dire's courier has been killed.
They're playing a bit slow here, SG. Like, they're not tempting fate by forcing anything onto PentAce, but they are losing their towers really quick. Like, it does melt if they're not careful.
They found there, Costabile going on to Z-Freak, does reality rift it back in, Curse Crown out, he's going to use all his leap charges and gets a nice arrow onto Costabile, but there's no follow-up. Instead, they're going to try and go onto the Bristleback. Snaking is pretty tanky now, but apparently not tanky enough. He's going to die, and that'll be the second death now for PentAce. This might start to feel kind of concerning now if you're a PentAce fan. The Alchemist again, I don't think he's getting far enough ahead. The CK does seem quite powerful. And I'd say in the later stages of the game, it's kind of up for grabs who does scale better between the two.
Yeah, it can go back and forth. There's some level spikes, some talent spikes on the CK you have to watch out for. The 20 talent spike is really big. Just piercing through BKB is going to cause so many issues for the initiation. And you can see SG with a couple of pickoffs starting to feel confident about the push. They still have Arena to drop as well. They've always got that option if PentAce does jump in for a fight. They're going to have additional control on hand. And you have to be a bit careful with your angles here in PentAce. So Fear is just not interested in fighting yet, wants his own AC up on top of the BKB, and that will take some more investment here from PentAce to stall out, but losing the triangle for sure now, as there is a ward dropped here from SG's side. They can just hold this area for however long they want to now.
Smoke up here. SG Esports would love another pick-off. Got some very nice map control in SG Esports.
Dire structures are fortified.
PentAce just kind of forced to split push the lanes right now and trying to buy more time and space for them. Here, going to TP out at the exact right time as SG were making their way over to the Elk. Thing is, the AC is going to be on the courier soon for Costabile. That's going to make SG Esports feel even more confident in the next team fight. Yo, he's staring them down. I mean, if you could kill the CK, be a great start, but it seems though they know he's up there. Or maybe not. Fear gonna get the stun off, but Tavo is around with the spear. Arrow not gonna land on anyone. Costabile is right out. Instead, they have made the jump back in on the Mars. Tavo low, but Terrorize does come in. Still Fear with the BKB rushing right through. Still trying to kill off this Mars, but he's gonna be able to get away. Instead, they'll turn back around onto KJ, but he has the borrowed time. And the turnaround again from SG Esports with a nice arena down. They've got Fear on the Alchemist. He's invis, but it doesn't matter. They have the detection. They'll get KJ, but it is not going to matter either, as Snaking does die on the Bristleback. Theolacore goes down, but they are really winning up this team fight, SG, as they found even Ryoya. The spear will land right on the wall, and they'll just stun him up. And SG Esports are well and truly in the driver's seat now.
Yeah, they found the important kill on the Elk. Really early BKB pop there from Fear meant that him chasing out put him at risk, and that BKB just faded out. It took way too long to find the angles there. SG Esports now finding those kills can just go for the push. You at least have a Keeper's Light up to keep spamming that Illuminate, but it's not going to be enough to hold back on that Tier 2. And SG Esports finding that Tier 2, again, open up the map a little bit more. They can opt to maybe get some D-wards out on the triangle once more, and they do. KJ just going to get that job done, taking control back and taking farm away once more from PentAce. Fear, he's still trying to save up for that AC, but you mentioned that the AC is already up for Costabile, and they've got control for the Roche Pit if they want to take that objective first, but looks like they want to kill.
I mean, why not? You know you're kind of ahead now. It's only a 1k net worth lead for PentAce with an Alchemist on their side. Which generally just means SG Esports is leading. PentAce for now, they're going to smoke up and probably just relocate away from the area. Trying to take over the die triangle instead, perhaps. So Fear, it looks like he's just stuck pushing out the bot lane for now. And Snaking will be the one to farm up that triangle. But while that's happening, of course, the Roshan has begun for SG Esports. There's going to be no counterplay to this. They can't fight. They just need more farm on PentAce. And SG know this. This will be the freest Roshan of their lives. Meanwhile, top lane, Terrorize, did actually land onto Z-Freak, but he wasn't TPing out. He does hit another Brambles, but Theolacore, can he actually chase him down? Not quite anymore. Z-Freak does get the TP away. And they're just trying their best to keep the lanes just pushed out. Just trying to force SG Esports to back and defend. But it looks like SG Esports, they know what's going down. They're just going to focus on that top tier 2 tower instead.
Yeah, and they're still finding really good farm on Costabile. Like, he's 2k behind an Alk, but again, that's just not significant enough. There are some item spikes here for PentAce. The Ags being up in Ryoya does give them more angles to go into. They've got the Silence to play with. If you silence up the Abaddon, that's going to cause issues as they're going to lack that Dispel. You're always going to have the option for additional control there. However, there is a big spike here for SG as well. They're going for the Scotty up in Costabile. And once you have that, you don't even worry about the Alk being in that Chemical Rage anymore. Like, the regen on hand is not going to feel amazing, and that should dissuade Fear from forcing out fights, or at least from standing in front. They're going to have to try and defend. Tier 3s are going to melt.
Aether Remnant does at least catch out 4DR. They'll land the arrow as well, but they've caught Snaking on the Bristleback for a 4-second stun. He's going to make it out. Tavo, very low on that Mars, but is not going to die. The Aphotic Shield will save his life. 4DR now looking to turn right back around onto Ryoya, but he wants to fight with the rest of his team. They'll at least get via LaCour. Can they find a bit more though? 4DR, healthy again, going to turn right back around. Now an Arena's down. They got the Void Spirit. They want him dead, and they'll get Ryoya. Onto Snaking, the Bristleback. Really not that tanky when it comes to Constabile and 4DR. He'll also die, and neither one have buyback available.
Yeah, this is going to be impossible to hold off now.
Pretty tough stuff. At least one lane of barracks going to the way of SG. They can try to go for another, as they still have the Aegis on 4DR. And the Eye of Skadi is now up on Constabile. He doesn't have Phantasm, but he may feel like he can still try. Arrow, though, does connect 4DR. No, the Aphotic Shield going to come in. Just purging off the stun. They slow up 4DR quite a bit, but it looks like nobody's really confident enough to go after the Leshrac right now. That'll be one lane of barracks to SG Esports.
Just like that, come in. They don't even expand the Aegis here. The SG Esports can look to force another big fight before going for the next objective. The Skadi being up on Constabile again will cause a lot of issues here for Fear. PentAce do want to find some punishment. They are smoked up looking for stragglers.
They might get Tavo. Oh, looks like Tavo's going to back off at the exact right time. Still looping around towards the triangle. They still got to get that mid-tier 1 tower as well, so Snaking. He's going to just try and clean it up with the Glyph. He's going to come out. Ryoya. Aether Remnant going to lock onto Thea LaCour. Tavo now being jumped, but does pop his own BKB, and he does have the Arena, but he's not going to commit it. They'll just deny off the tier 1, and it looks like they'll back out. Just not wanting to fight without the CK around, and that's fair enough.
Yeah, and they can just take this time to finish farming up those tier 3s. The same thing can happen here for PentAce. And just get yourself those neutral items up first. You do have some really good build-up still remaining on Constabile. Again, Fear is not far ahead enough. He's still within 1k of the CK, which just isn't elite at all on that hero. And SG Esports have just really taken over that map quite well. We're seeing the Shivas coming out from 4DR fairly soon as well. In fact, this tower might give them gold. And once you have that Shivas, just even more to worry about for the Alk, for the Bristleback even. It's just not going to be a smooth ride, and they're going to go for the high ground again.
Why the hell not? Snaking, going to get rifted in. 3-second stun out from Constabile. Still the Blinding Light helping out, but now the Arena is down. Fear is going to try and hold the line with his own BKB. SG Esports, it looks like they do not want to commit again. I thought they may try because the BKB was down now for the Alk. But it seems like without the Arena, they don't really want to fight. Well, I say that, they have smoked up again, but Snaking is going to break the smoke immediately. I think that will be enough for SG Esports to just leave the building. But 4DR has other plans, but it's not going to last too long. They're just prodding and poking at Snaking for now.
Tribute to my house.
Yeah, the Aegis has expired though, so they're not going to have that secondary life on 4DR, but they have the Batcher up on Constabile, so he can just take care of these BKB cores in the front, try to lock them down. And right now, SG Esports, I mean, they've applied enough map pressure, they could just wait for the next Roche. We'll find out in about 2.5 minutes when that respawn is. PentAce just need to keep trying to farm. They need to keep trying to build that lead on with Fear. He has his own Basher up. He's trying to save for the Abyssal. And maybe by that point, the Alk can start to hit. But again, the answers are there from SG Esports. With that Shivas, with a Skadi, it's going to be hard for Fear, regardless of his farm, to stand in front here.
Here we go again. Constabile moving in with his team. They have the Arena up. Z-Freak going to TP out in the right time. It's like SG slowly push their way in. No real sense of urgency from SG Esports, but I kind of agree with that. As long as the Alchemist is stuck in their base, the whole point of the Alchemist is kind of null. Sure, he has these creep waves coming in, but it's only once in a while, and it's nowhere near what he needs to have.
Yeah, it's still a long way to go for Fear to really get to that point where the Alch just takes over. And there's no map for everyone else. So even if Fear's finding farm, you've stalled out on the side of Ryoya, you've stalled out in snaking. They are smoked up, maybe again looking for a straggler here.
I mean, 40R would be a great kill if they could get it. He's not that easy of a target. They're going to take the long way around here. PentAce trying to get into that Radiant Triangle. It's like they'll suss out the Roshan first, but that's got a bit of time to go. And, well, they'll just hide in the pit to try and figure out how they're going to get into that triangle.
Dire's courier has been killed.
Looks like they'll just give up and go for the courier instead. SG Esports immediately running over. They want the fight, especially if it's outside of their base. Thealacore trying to scout with his own courier now. They found Z-Freak, but Terrorize is not going to land. Costa Bielair has the Mirana used up, and it looks like they will kill off Z-Freak immediately into Ryoya, but Fear is around trying to go on to that CK, but Costa Bielair, he's a tanky boy. He gets the Phantasm. He's quite low, however, and they might be able to kill him, and they do. Fear, he gets through the HP and armor, but can he survive? No, he cannot. 40R and Tavo just take him down. Snaking gonna try and keep going, but the damage output from 40R is quite high at the moment. He's still gonna run away. KJ also going down there to Ryoya. They're gonna try and turn now that 40R doesn't really have much mana. Tavo gonna spear away the bristle. Ryoya's back in. 40R still trying to fight back. He will get one in the form of Ryoya. Snaking, though, should see there's not really much mana left. 40R, how much more damage can he do? The Edict is still going, so they are afraid. But Tavo jumps in with the Counter Rebuke. Spear back. Snaking is still alive on 100 HP. Back towards 40R. Jukes out the Split Earth as well. Moo with the Illuminate still going onto the Slash Rack. And they should eventually kill him off. But he's just not dying. Z-Freak now in there with the Yules. The arrow connects. They'll finally get him. And that is kiting 101, John. A great kiting lesson here from PentAce.
Yeah, it's a really back and forth fight. This one definitely favorable for PentAce, but they did have to sacrifice Fear. So you're still not going to be too happy about that on the side of PentAce. SG Esports maybe overextending in that fight a bit. They need this BKB on Costa Bielair for him to really just stand and not get controlled. And even then, you have to worry about the bashes coming out from an Alk. So maybe a value disarm would be nice here as well for SG Esports to consider, but nothing like that lined up yet. They do manage to stall out long enough that the Roche is going to be up in half a minute, but the Abyssal's up in Fear. So we've seen him do some work up front. He's saving up for the Swift Blink next, and once he has that, we know what happens when Alk farms up to that point, and Moo also manages to get his Ag. So there's more team fight here for PentAce. SG Esports might have taken too long here to start on those objectives.
On Tavo. They're not going to catch him out. Both teams currently waiting for that Roshan, which is up in 1 second. And Moo, oh, he just walks out before it comes in. But Snaking, he'll double check and he sees it. In fact, he just starts immediately. No second guessing for Snaking. It's a smoke up from SG Esports, though. They can't allow this to just go down for free. They want that Aegis themselves for the next high ground attempt. It's getting pretty low, though. They need to make a decision. Scan is there. They'll get the information, but Roshan's about to drop, and they're not going to make it. Aegis and Cheese the way of PentAce, and suddenly this game got a lot harder for SG Esports. As they try and fight, but 40R has been stunned by the Abyssal Blade. Willow is dropped as well onto 40R, and this is looking kind of bad for SG, but they're going to try and fight back by killing off Ryoya. The crits from Costa Bielair doing a lot of damage, and Ryoya just caught in the middle of that arena. Could not find a way out. 40R now, Split Earth is going to land on the Mirana, but Z-Freak does manage to leap. It's not going to help. Costa Bielair still lands the stun. And Aegis or no Aegis, they are going in.
Yeah, they know they've got the numbers without the Void spread around. They can try to melt. They force a buyback. There's no Will-O-Wisp for a little bit longer, so they don't have to worry about that. But you can see how difficult it is now for SG Esports in the middle of these fights. Fear is starting to become a hard-hitting core that can just stand in front. You're trying to focus on everyone else before jumping on the Alk, and that does buy enough time for the Alchemist to bail out. So our Alk is reaching that point where he's a big, scary core. Again, saving up for that Swift Blink is still about 2,000 gold away. Once he has that, I think you have to really worry about how much you can just control Fear. It doesn't feel like it's been enough. But Costabile still hits hard as well, so there's a lot of back and forth between these past ones left here.
I mean, there's even more damage now with the Penta-Eng sword for Costabile. Go very nice for him. The tier 4 item's going to have to be farmed up by PentAce as well, and hopefully it's ASAP. The map is still a very dangerous place for them. It's like Fear's just going to rush towards getting that Swift Blink up. Of course, that is a pretty massive kind of boost for the Alchemist once you do have it up and available. So the Abyssal Blade also going to be out soon with Costabile. That's going to be a massive power spike for him. That can almost guarantee he just blows somebody up. It's really not that hard once you have the Rift committed with the Phantasm Illusions and a guaranteed stun with the Abyssal. Even with the Alchemist, it really doesn't take that long to blow him up with that many illusions. They're still going to smoke up here, PentAce. They've got the Aegis, they've got the cheese, they want to try and make a play with them. If they could catch out Tavo before this team fight starts, it'd be amazing for Penta.
It's no small thing to be
Like for now, they're just going to back off. Back into the base for a bit. SG Esports continuing to hold the high ground in that triangle.
Dyer's courier has been killed.
Sort of courier snipe on Tavo's courier. Rift not going to land there from Costabile. That'll be about it.
Yeah, it's alright smoke ganks for SG. They don't necessarily want to fight into that Aegis, so this is more time ticking away at that advantage, and you actually get some poke again on the mid tower. Of course, that is just 40R doing what Leshraks do. Edict up, try to melt a bit, forces a response in. So the Aegis still not doing much here for the side of PentAce. It is set to expire in about a minute 20. Not too much time left for them to maximize that if they did want to force a gank. And again, we're still stuck in this position where there is a slight lead for PentAce, but with an Alk, it doesn't feel like it's enough. They do have the Swift Blink up, so maybe Fear can just focus down and kill off one big hero here.
Try. Snaking. Caught in the brambles for a second. He'll use the Lotus Sword, but Curse Crown and Spear are both going to land. So SG Esports not really trying to capitalize on that. They don't appear to want to jump the Bristle first. It's pretty standard. Rather go on a much squishier target if you can afford to.
Fears of my delight.
Looks like both teams, again, are just going to avoid each other. Of course, for SG, it kind of makes sense because you don't really want to fight into the Aegis if you can avoid it. You're better off just trying to wait it out and kind of ensuring that you win the next team fight. Now, PentAce, it looks like they're more than happy to just keep farming up for now. Even with that Aegis up, they're just not feeling quite far enough to really commit to a big team fight unless they have a massive advantage. But that is not there yet.
Yeah, if this game goes any longer, though, you can start to consider the Ags upgrades coming in from Fear potentially becoming a big factor. That would free a slot up for Ryoya to maybe itemize further. That would give more utility out onto snaking as well. He does have his Ag Shard up on the Bristleback, so he actually has a good way of setting up these fights by at least getting a couple of procs off before anything is set to begin. But the smoke out here.
They're going to fight. Abyssal Blade's right in onto the Abaddon. They want to blow him up, but no, they go onto Costabile instead. After the borrowed times pop, Phantasm's there, however. There goes Moo, your Keeper of the Light's dead, and now your Bristleback's in trouble, and so is Fear, as he is just perma-stunned up on the Alchemist. Now your Bristleback's gone. This could be it. There's no buyback left on that Alch. Z-Freak, he does end up getting stunned and taken out. And they do have a buyback on snaking, but it's going to make it a 3v5. And at the speed that SG Esports can push in these towers, it's going to be a pretty hard ask of PentAce to defend this. They're going to try one last time, it seems.
Yeah, it's going to be a while until Fear is up. A full minute means you're probably going to be looking at Meg creeps anyway. Just try to hold out before then. And we saw that jump in. Fear tried to focus down onto Costabile and onto KJ, but didn't have enough damage really to get that done, and didn't have the follow-up his team. The rest of the lineup was just a bit too far back. Only Snaking really managed to kind of stand there and help him out, and the Will-O-Wisp just couldn't get enough control out at this point. So they're going to have to deal with Mega Creeps. Maybe they force another fight. They still have a half a minute until the Alex up. There's just so much more SG can do in that downtime.
Yeah, I mean, Megas are up. They don't really need to rush. It looks like they will feel the need to just go up to some tier 4 towers while they have a chance. Snaking, trying to distract them a little bit, but a nice Abyssal Blade sent up there from Tavo onto Ryoya. He can buy back on the Void Spirit. For now, he is going to wait a little bit. The tier 4s are still under siege, however, but there's Fear coming up now. It's going to force them back. The Abyssal is there, but Fear gets speared backwards. Costabile still alive. Terrorize coming out, but the Minotaur Horn from Fear, keeping him from being feared up. He will go back in, however. Mu will die immediately on the Coddle, and Costabile is still running away. They're still trying, but he's just healing up with the lifesteal. They can get him eventually, though. Fear does jump right back in and gets him. 40R trying to run. Ryoya gets a dieback, or rather gets killed and has to die back. And 4DR also kills off Z-Freak and gets out with a TP. And so PentAce are kind of stuck defending Megas.
That they are. Now, they do have a bit of an ace in their sleeve if they want to. The Divine is being queued up by Fear. It's the all-in play. I don't know if it's going to be enough. It just feels like there's so much durability here from Costabile and from KJ that when you focus down the CK, he just ends up alive anyway. So we'll see if the Divine Rapier will come out and if it's enough. But just the Swift Blink right now with the rest of Fear's setup is really not enough. Like there's just so much durability here. So much HP coming through from that CK, and PentAce now just have to be careful.
Tavo just abusing Snaking in this bot lane. Jump in, Fear. He wants to punish him for this. Tavo going to BKB up, but it may not help. Unstable Concoction, though. That won't matter. Fear had his own BKB, of course, and does get the kill. Nice pickup from PentAce. And well, naturally, if you are SG Esports, while you are confident that you should be able to win this game, you don't want to throw away lives like that.
No, definitely not. That's another gem going the way of Snaking as well. So they're going to be able to deny some of that vision game out. And SG are probably going to be a bit annoyed that they don't have the gem to deal with the Moonlight Shadow right now. So a bit of a optimistic play, not respecting the outpost TP point. And SG Esports now will have to just wait out a bit. Next Roshan, about 40 seconds. They can force the fight around that pit. They do have better control on the map. They've got the capabilities to keep these waves shoved out. But there's that Divine on Fear. So maybe this is how they get enough damage out here.
It is doubtful that it'll be enough, but if they can get the right team fight going, if they find the right targets, the bonus damage is certainly going to be welcome. SG Esports should kind of be expecting this to happen as well. Plus, it doesn't take very long for an Alchemist to farm up a Divine Rapier. Either that or he's giving Aghanim Scepters over to his friends, but you're not really in a position where you can afford to do that. This Divine should be expected. PentAce will slowly but surely push the wave out at that top lane. SG Esports seem pretty satisfied sitting back for a bit, but Roshan is up now. And that's one thing that both teams will guaranteed need to contest. Neither team can really afford to lose it, but PentAce are going to be much more desperate to be able to pick that Aegis up for sure.
Yeah, they really need that one to come back into the game. For SG, it's more of a bonus and more of denying it away from PentAce. Still, They are sort of grouped up. They could try to go for that play. They aren't smoked, but they are now, so they can try to approach this pit.
They're going to try, but this could be the absolute last team fight if PentAce can't win. His buybacks are pretty scarce. It's like SG will back. He does actually manage to farm up the gold for his buyback in that little bit of time. So he's going to be feeling okay about that. Aetherum actually locks onto the right CK, but 40R, he started the team fight. Onto Z-Freak, but
Divine.
the Mirana is going to survive. Double Divine Rapier's up on Fear now. He's got 2 swords because he has 2 hands, and he'll make the jump in. Onto Mars, Tava will die. KJ now and 40R have to be very careful. That is a lot of damage, but they'll be able to back with a nice Terrorize out. Ryoya to simulate back the way into the Roshan pit. Costabile, of course, he got the Aegis up. And it looks like SG Esports are more than happy to fight as the Ancient. Well, how could we forget, John, the Ancient? The Mega Creeps, they had enough of this game. They just finished it for us.
Yeah, I guess that works out for SG Esports. They distract them from the eventual push in. No one was heading back to defend. They needed all bodies on deck to really find that fight. And, you know, we did see some of the damage coming through from Fear, right? Double Divine, it was doing work, just way too late. So the investment in the Alk here for PentAce not quite working out. They did have to take a slower start on Ryoya and onto Snaking, and it really goes down to this Bristleback lane. I think when you had the Keeper of the Light Bristleback combo, and when you could have run that instead, going with the Mirana Bristleback just took away a lot of presence for Snaking. I understand why though. Like, you don't necessarily want Mirana with Alchemist. That does basically nothing except for shoving wave out. So it's understandable why they ended up with those lanes, but it really just weakened the presence of that Bristleback early on.
Alright, well with that, John, of course, we do have Game 2 coming up in roughly 10 minutes. It is MLP Dota and JohnXFire, and we'll see you all again very, very soon for our second game.